Good evening. I'm Rhonda at Carnivore Leo, bringing you carnivore news that we can use from the community. Rena with 5 Minute Body recently interviewed Dr. Anthony Chafee, where they discussed the 10 worst carnivore mistakes to avoid. Since we are still in the first month of the new year, it may be beneficial to imprint this information in our minds so we can be aware and hopefully avoid these common carnivore mistakes. Carnivore mistake number one is not eating enough. Dr. Chafee stated that it's very easy to undereat on the carnivore diet because the hunger signals are much more mild and subtle than when we're eating carbohydrates. Dr. Chafee believes that the taste signal is a better marker for indicating when we've had enough and advises us to relearn our hunger signals and go by taste. So if we're eating fatty meat and we're hungry, Dr. Chafee stated that it will taste good and we will receive positive feedback. But eventually, once our body gets enough, we will receive less positive feedback and the food will no longer taste good. That's the signal that we've had enough. Carnivore mistake number two is not eating enough fat. Many people have been conditioned most of their lives to eat a low fat diet. When they start carnivore, they may eat more meat and more fat than they used to, but it's still not enough fat. Dr. Chafee says if you're feeling tired and lethargic and don't have the same energy levels that you used to with your workouts, not eating enough fat can be a major reason why. He says our bodies chase nutrients more than they chase calories, and fat is not just a calorie source, it is an essential nutrient. There are essential fatty acids that we must have that we cannot get from anything except animal sources. And they come with a lot of fat soluble vitamins that we do need that are essential. When we're getting these nutrients from the fat and from the high nutrient dense foods, we will stay more satiated with better energy levels for longer. Carnivore mistake number three is drinking coffee. Many people drink coffee and continue to drink coffee on carnivore. Dr. Chafee says that coffee is a laxative, so it can create loose stools because when we don't have a ton of fiber blocking the pipes, that laxative effect is a lot more dramatic and noticeable. If we drink coffee and have normal stools, the coffee can mask the amount of fat we are taking in. If we have dry, hard stools, then it means our bodies are absorbing all of the fat we're taking in and none is getting sent out. Carnivore mistake number four is consuming artificial sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners can also act as a laxative. It can also hinder weight and fat loss. Dr. Chafee believes if we want to obtain optimal health, we should eliminate all artificial sweeteners because they come from plants that contain plant toxins and chemicals to defend themselves. Carnivore mistake number five is having the perfection mindset. Dr. Chafee says not to give up the good for the perfect. Many people think if they don't do carnivore perfectly, then they can't do it at all. Dr. Chafee says if we slip up, just get back on track. Slipping up once and getting back on board is a lot better than never getting back on board and eating crap every day. Carnivore mistake number six is incorporating fruit and honey. These sugars do the same things in the body as sucralose, glucose, and fructose. Dr. Chafee stated fructose has been shown in many studies to cause metabolic syndrome. Maybe there are some things in fruit and honey that make it better than table sugar, but that doesn't mean that the sugar acts any differently in our bodies. It just means that there's other things that mitigate it that are also a benefit, but that doesn't make the sugar good for us. Some people say fruit is part of the plant that wants to be eaten. Dr. Chafee says the plant wants something to eat it, but not necessarily us. A lot of the fruits we eat now are cultivated from plants that have been bioengineered from intensive breeding or by genetic modification to be way more sweet or changed in some major fashion. These are not normal plants. These have been modified by humans. And even then, the majority of fruits are still toxic to humans because they want something to eat a plant, not necessarily us. So, in fact, most fruits and berries will still be very poisonous to us. Dr. Chafee says if it's not meat and it's not carnivore, he wouldn't eat it unless he needed it to survive. Carnivore mistake number 7 is consuming dairy. Some people cannot have dairy, especially people with autoimmune issues need to avoid dairy. According to Dr. Chafee, those people should only eat red meat and water, and as close to grass-fed and grass-finished as possible, especially while they're healing for at least the first 6 months. Then afterward, they may be able to tolerate more things like dairy. Dairy is pro-inflammatory, especially with the A1 casein protein. The A2 casein protein is pro-inflammatory as well. It's just not as bad as the A1. But people can still have problems with it. Many people find that they can actually stall their weight loss and their fat loss if they're eating a lot of dairy, which is very common in the carnivore community. Dr. Chafee says that dairy should be used sparingly and only as a condiment. Carnivore mistake number 8 is thinking that carnivore is too restrictive. Some people may think that they are limited and have no options or choices. Dr. Chafee says to not look at the things you can't eat, but to look at all of the things that you can eat. There's a lot of different animals in the world, and we can eat most of them. And there's a lot of different cuts from the different animals that we do eat as well. There's different steaks and roasts and organs, seafood, lamb, beef, chicken, and fish. Carnivore mistake number 9 is calorie counting or portion control. Dr. Chafee advises to just listen to our bodies and that nature is natural. It just happens all on its own. If it tastes good, you're hungry as long as you're eating just meat and you're not on any medications, carbohydrates, or any artificial sweeteners. Dr. Chafee says if you're eating naturally, you can listen to your natural instincts, and this is like every animal in the wild does. Carnivore mistake number 10 is setting unrealistic goals. For example, some have improved and reversed several metabolic diseases, but thought that they were a failure because their weight wasn't coming down. Then they stopped because their focus was on weight loss. Dr. Chafee says that the body must heal first, which can take a long time for some people. He advises to focus on our health first and foremost, because this is the healthiest way for us to eat biologically, and we are going to be far better off. When our bodies have healed, then we can ramp up our metabolism and can lose weight healthfully and safely. Dr. Chafee wants us to focus on the right things and to focus on our health and understand that there really isn't any other way that's going to achieve better results faster. I hope everyone got some value from the 10 worst carnivore mistakes and how to avoid them. This concludes carnivore news that we can use. Good night.